The alien ship cut across the black sky like a silver blade. It entered Earth's orbit quietly, hidden from the eyes of humans below. Inside the vessel, the alien crew gathered near wide crystal windows, staring down at the blue and green planet. To them, Earth looked beautiful but strange. The oceans sparkled under the sun and white clouds moved lazily across the atmosphere, yet the readings on their scanners made them laugh. The captain, tall and thin with dark silver skin, narrowed his glowing eyes. "This world is hostile," he said. "Its air is filled with dangerous gases. Ammonia traces, unstable oxygen, random toxins. Impossible to live in for long." The younger officers chuckled. One of them tapped the screen showing humans walking in a busy city. "And yet look at them," he said. "These little creatures breathe it every day. Fragile skin, weak bones, short lives, still crawling on the ground like insects. Pathetic," another officer sneered. "Their lungs must be damaged from birth. Look at how they gasp and sweat. Weak animals. They survive by chance, not strength." They all laughed again. To the aliens, humans seemed nothing but harmless toys. A species not worth fear, only curiosity. But one among them, a young alien scientist, frowned. He kept studying the humans closely, watching how they moved through their strange environment. He whispered almost to himself, "But how do they survive at all?" The others ignored him. They believed humans were soft and foolish, too primitive to be a threat. The captain ordered the ship to descend lower. The vessel's hull glowed red as it cut through the thick atmosphere. Thunder shook around them as the craft slipped quietly into the clouds. Below, the humans continued with their ordinary lives, unaware that visitors from the stars had arrived. The aliens prepared their suits. Their technology allowed them to walk outside for short periods, even in the dangerous atmosphere. With pride, the captain ordered the hatch to open. The door hissed and a ramp extended onto a grassy hill near a quiet forest. "Let us see these weaklings up close," the captain said. The first officer stepped out. He walked confidently at first, his suit shielding him from the air. But after only a few minutes, he staggered. His breathing grew heavy. A strange burning sensation filled his lungs. The officer clutched at his chest. "What is happening?" He gasped through the comms. The captain frowned. "Adjust your filters." I cannot." The officer collapsed to his knees, his body trembling. His helmet cracked slightly as he hit the ground. Alarms screamed inside the ship. The young scientist rushed forward. "Pull him back. The air is killing him." Two aliens dragged the fallen officer into the ship. His face had turned pale, his eyes rolling back. The others panicked. Their pride turned into fear. "How can they live in this poison?" One officer whispered, shaking. "Not just live," the scientist replied. He pointed through the window at the humans walking in the distance. "They thrive. They breathe it like water. They run, laugh, and grow stronger in it. What kills us in minutes gives them life." The crew fell silent. For the first time, the word harmless did not sound right. Moments later, humans noticed the strange glowing craft on the hill. A small group ran toward it, curious but not afraid. Among them was a farmer and his two children. They had no weapons, only baskets of fruit they had been carrying. The aliens watched in confusion. "Why are they approaching? Do they not fear us?" The farmer shouted something friendly, but the aliens did not understand his language. Still, his tone was calm, his movements open. He placed a hand on his chest, then pointed at the collapsed officer being treated inside the ship. The children stepped forward with wide eyes, pointing at the injured alien. The farmer reached into his basket and held out a fruit as if offering food to the strangers. The alien captain clenched his jaw. He had expected fear, screams, maybe even anger. Instead, these humans offered kindness. The injured officer coughed violently, his body shaking. The farmer looked worried. Without hesitation, he placed the fruit gently on the ramp and stepped back, his eyes showing concern. The aliens were silent. None of them knew how to respond. The young scientist whispered again, "They are not weak. Not weak at all. Something about them is different. Something the galaxy has not seen." The captain's glowing eyes narrowed as he stared at the humans smiling up at him, standing strong in the very air that poisoned his crew. The captain felt a chill, though the planet's breeze was warm. "We thought they were harmless," he said quietly. "But what if the truth is far more dangerous?" The humans waited, curious, unaware of the fear now growing in the hearts of their visitors. The alien ship remained hidden on the quiet hill, its silver surface glowing faintly under the sun. Inside, the crew argued in low voices. The injured officer lay in a recovery chamber, his breathing still ragged. Machines beeped around him, struggling to keep his body stable. He had only been outside for a few minutes, but Earth's air nearly killed him. The captain paced back and forth, his silver skin shimmering with unease. He tried to keep his voice calm, but there was a tremor in it. He was careless. The suit must have malfunctioned. That is all. But the young scientist shook his head firmly. No, Captain. The air itself is poison to us. It burns our lungs, it corrodes our blood. And yet, he pointed to the window where humans could still be seen in the distance, walking, laughing, carrying baskets. They breathe it as if it is nothing. The crew fell silent. Some looked away, unwilling to admit the truth. For years, their people had believed humans were weak, fragile creatures. It was a comforting story, one that made the galaxy feel safe. But the evidence was in front of them now. An older officer sneered. They are still short-lived animals. Their bodies break easily. Look how thin they are, how soft. We have armor, ships, weapons. They have only sticks and stones. His words gave the crew some comfort. They nodded quickly, trying to convince themselves again. Yes, weak, another said. We must not forget that. The captain grabbed onto this hope. He straightened his back. Exactly. Fragile bones, short lives. We are the stronger race. They are children playing with fire. Nothing more. But his words did not erase the memory of his officer choking and gasping on the ground, helpless in air that humans call fresh. That afternoon, through the ship's hidden windows, the aliens observed humans at work. On the nearby fields, farmers bent their backs under the blazing sun, carrying heavy sacks of grain. Sweat ran down their faces, but they did not stop. One human stumbled, dropped his load, then laughed and picked it up again as if nothing had happened. The older officer smirked. See, clumsy, weak. But then a soldier appeared. A human soldier, broad-shouldered and strong, wearing a simple uniform. He carried logs thicker than the alien's own body. His muscles strained, yet he kept moving, step after step, his breath steady. The aliens leaned closer to the glass, eyes narrowing. That weight would crush us, one whispered. The young scientist's voice was sharp. Weak? Look again. That is not weakness. That is endurance. The soldier finished his task, then trained with his fellows. He lifted stones, pushed his body to the ground and back up again over and over while others shouted in rhythm. The aliens did not understand the strange ritual. It looked painful, but the humans smiled through it, pushing their limits as if pain itself was a game. They choose suffering, the scientist whispered. They seek it. They grow through it. That is why they survive. The captain's jaw tightened. He wanted to dismiss these words, but deep inside, unease spread like cold water. Later, as night fell, the crew saw something that silenced even the most arrogant officer. A fire broke out in one of the wooden houses on the edge of the village. Flames rose high into the dark sky. Humans screamed and ran toward it, not away from it. They carried buckets of water, throwing them again and again onto the blaze. Smoke filled their lungs, sparks burned their skin, yet they refused to stop. One man charged into the burning house and dragged out a crying child. His skin was blackened with soot, his arms covered in burns, but he smiled at the child in his arms. The villagers cheered and kept fighting the flames together until the fire died down. Inside the alien ship, silence reigned. No one laughed this time. The young scientist broke the quiet. His voice was low, but it cut through the air. Do you see now? Fragile bones, yes. Short lives, maybe. But inside them, there is something unbreakable. They do not run from fire. They walk into it. The captain did not reply. He stared at the humans standing in the glow of the dying fire. Their faces smeared with soot, their bodies trembling from exhaustion, yet their eyes shone with pride, with courage, with life. The older officer finally muttered, almost to himself, Perhaps they are not so harmless. The scientist looked at him sharply. Harmless? No. They are the most dangerous kind of life, the kind that grows stronger the more the world tries to break it. The captain's gaze hardened. He turned away from the window, but his voice carried a weight the crew had never heard before. We must watch them carefully. These are not weaklings. These are survivors. And survivors become threats. Outside, the humans sang softly around the saved child, their voices rising into the night sky. To them, it was just another struggle overcome. But to the aliens, it was something else entirely. Something far more terrifying. The galaxy had called humans fragile. Tonight, the crew began to doubt it. The alien ship floated silently above the forest, hidden under its cloaking field. Inside, the crew gathered around glowing screens. Their curiosity about humans had turned into unease, and now unease was slowly growing into fear. The young alien scientist stood before the council chamber, his hands trembling as he showed the latest readings. "The tests confirm it," he said firmly. "Earth's atmosphere is filled with danger. Low-level toxins, heavy metals, unstable radiation, billions of aggressive bacteria. To us it is poison. To them, it is life." The captain's jaw clenched. He wanted to deny it, but the evidence was undeniable. Charts displayed oxygen levels spiking higher than safe for most species, traces of chemicals that corroded alien lungs, and constant exposure to microscopic threats. Yet outside, humans played, worked, and laughed as if nothing were wrong. "How can they live in this?" one officer muttered. "It should kill them before they reach adulthood." The scientist turned his glowing eyes toward the officer. His voice was calm but heavy with truth. "It does not kill them. It makes them stronger." The crew shifted uncomfortably. They had always believed humans were fragile animals, but now a different picture was forming, one that unsettled every heart in the room. Through the windows, the aliens observed the village below. Children ran barefoot across the dirt, chasing one another, laughing even as they scraped their knees or stumbled in the dust. Mothers called after them, not with worry but with warmth. The children cried for only a moment, then stood again, smiling, ready to play. The older officer scoffed. "They are reckless." "No," the scientist whispered. "They are adapted." That evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky orange, the crew saw something even more shocking. A group of hunters returned from the forest carrying wild animals they had captured. Their clothes were torn, scratches ran across their arms and faces, yet they grinned proudly as the village cheered for them. One hunter walked barefoot despite bleeding from his foot. He limped but did not stop, dragging a heavy beast behind him with sheer willpower. The aliens could not believe their eyes. That wound, untreated, no medicine. He should be dying from infection already. The young scientist leaned closer to the screen. Not dying, healing. He zoomed in with the ship's scanners. The hunter's blood was already clotting, skin beginning to close. His body was repairing itself at a speed that stunned them. The crew exchanged nervous glances. "What kind of creatures are these?" someone whispered. Night fell. From above, the aliens watched as the villagers lit fires. Sparks rose into the dark sky. The humans sat together singing songs, eating their meal. The aliens tried to understand. Why did they not fear the night? Why did they not hide from the dangers of their own brutal world? Then a storm began to brew. Black clouds gathered, lightning cracked across the heavens. Rain poured down like a waterfall. The aliens panicked inside their ship, sealing hatches, switching on protective fields. Their sensors screamed warnings. Acidic traces in the rain, unstable currents in the air. To them, it was a nightmare, but the humans, they stepped out of their homes and walked calmly through the storm. Children laughed as they danced in the rain, splashing water with bare feet. Men and women carried on with their work as if the storm were nothing but a friend. One small boy raised his arms, spinning in circles, letting lightning flash across the sky above him. He shouted with joy. The alien crew stared in silence. Their hands shook, not from the storm but from what they were seeing. "How?" the captain whispered. The scientist's voice was soft but sharp. "Because this world has shaped them. Fire, poison, storms, disease. Every breath they take is a battle. And every day they win that battle." The silence grew heavier. None dared to laugh at humans anymore. Then something happened that froze their hearts. One of the younger officers insisted on testing the storm himself. Against the captain's orders, he stepped outside in his protective suit. The rain touched his armor, sizzling faintly. Within seconds, alarms rang inside his helmet. His breathing became ragged. "Get back inside," the captain shouted. The officer staggered, slipping in the mud. His chest heaved. I cannot breathe." Humans nearby saw him collapse. Without hesitation, two of them ran into the storm toward him. They grabbed the alien's arms and lifted him, their faces wet with rain, their muscles straining. They dragged him back toward the ship, even though they had no idea what he was or where he came from. The hatch opened. The crew pulled the officer inside. His body shook violently, his lungs failing. But when the captain looked back, he saw the humans standing at the ramp, drenched but calm, their eyes filled not with fear, but with concern. The captain's breath caught in his throat. He had expected cruelty, anger, maybe even violence. Instead, these humans offered help. The scientist looked at the drenched humans one last time before the hatch closed. His voice was almost a whisper, trembling with awe. This is the first sign. We thought them fragile, yet they carry strength even our strongest cannot match. They do not just endure the poison. They master it. And they still have kindness to spare. The captain did not speak, but deep inside he felt a cold realization. The galaxy had called humans harmless. But tonight, Earth itself had shown the first hint of a darker, far greater truth. The storm did not stop. It grew heavier, darker, more violent with every passing hour. From the sky, the alien ship looked like a small star hidden in black clouds. Lightning tore across the heavens, striking trees and splitting the earth. The rain poured like endless rivers, drumming on metal, pounding on soil. Inside the ship, the alien crew huddled together. Warning alarms screamed constantly. The atmosphere outside was unstable, filled with acidic traces and unstable charges. Their suits were not built for such chaos. To the aliens, this storm was death itself. The captain's voice was tight with fear. Shields at maximum. Keep the hull sealed. No one goes outside. The crew obeyed quickly. They had seen what Earth's air did to them. This storm was far worse. To step outside now would mean certain death. But then through the viewing screens, they saw something that made every alien freeze. Humans. Down below, in the heart of the storm, humans walked calmly through the rain. They carried tools, baskets, even children in their arms. Their clothes clung to their bodies, water dripping down their faces, but their eyes were steady. They did not panic. They did not hide. One woman stood in the open field, her hair plastered to her skin. She looked up at the lightning with no fear, only wonder. Beside her, a small child laughed, stretching out his hands to feel the rain. The aliens could not understand. This is madness, one officer whispered. The rain is poison. The air is unstable. How can they walk in it? The scientist's voice was hushed, filled with awe. They are not just surviving, they are living in it. The storm raged louder. Trees bent under the wind, roofs creaked. Yet humans worked together, securing their homes, tying ropes, moving animals to safety. They shouted to one another, their voices strong against the roar of thunder. The aliens watched as a group of men carried heavy logs through the mud, planting them as supports to protect the weaker houses. Their muscles strained, but they pushed forward step after step as if the storm itself was only another task. One alien officer shook his head in disbelief. This would destroy us. Yet they fight it as if it is nothing. The captain said nothing. His glowing eyes stayed locked on the screen, his mind struggling to understand. Then it happened. A bolt of lightning struck near the village, setting a tree ablaze. The flames spread quickly, fire and rain battling against each other. Humans rushed toward it immediately, carrying buckets of water, dragging the burning branches away with bare hands. Sparks burned their skin, smoke filled their lungs, but still they pushed forward. The aliens inside the ship gasped. Why do they not run? The scientist's answer was simple. Because they do not fear pain. One man collapsed near the fire, coughing violently. Another human lifted him onto his shoulders and carried him away, then returned to fight the flames again. Their unity, their stubbornness, their refusal to surrender. It shook the alien crew to their core. The young scientist leaned forward, his eyes wide. Do you see? They face storms, fire, poison every day. Their bodies break, but their will does not. The atmosphere shapes them into something terrifying. The storm outside screamed louder, shaking the ship itself. The aliens activated stabilizers, but the humans below stood firm, as if the storm were nothing but an old enemy they knew well. Then came the final blow to alien pride. One of the alien soldiers, restless and arrogant, refused to accept human strength. Against orders, he put on his suit and stepped outside to prove himself. At first, he walked confidently into the rain, but within seconds his breathing grew uneven. Acid drops hissed against his armor. The storm pressed down on him like a living beast. He stumbled. His knees hit the mud. His lungs burned. Captain, he gasped through the comms. I cannot breathe. The crew rushed to pull him back, but before they could reach him, humans did. 2 villagers saw him collapse. Without hesitation, they ran straight into the storm. They grabbed his arms, dragging his heavy body across the mud. Lightning flashed around them. Rain blinded their eyes, but they did not stop until they reached the ramp of the alien ship. The hatch opened. The crew pulled their soldier inside. His suit was cracked, his body trembling, his face pale. He barely clung to life. But when the captain looked back at the ramp, he saw the two humans still standing there. Their clothes were soaked, their chests rising and falling with heavy breaths. Yet their eyes were calm. They had risked their lives to save a stranger, an alien. The hatch closed, sealing out the storm. Inside, silence fell. Every alien stared at one another, their pride shattered. The young scientist's voice was soft but firm. This is what makes them dangerous. Not their size, not their weapons. It is their endurance. Their courage. Their refusal to bow even when nature itself tries to break them. The captain finally spoke. His voice was low, almost a whisper. We thought they were weak. But if this is weakness, then what does strength look like? Outside the storm roared on, but the humans kept working, fighting, laughing through the chaos. To them, it was just another night. To the aliens, it was a nightmare, one that revealed the terrifying truth of humanity. The storm passed by dawn, leaving the land soaked and shining under the rising sun. Smoke still curled from the burned trees and water dripped from every roof. Birds began to sing again as if nothing had happened. The humans walked through the muddy streets, tired but smiling. They carried on with their daily lives as if the storm had been only a small test, nothing more. But inside the alien ship, the crew sat in silence. The rescued soldier lay in a medical pod, his suit melted and scarred from the acid rain. He breathed with difficulty, his chest rising and falling as machines worked to keep him alive. The captain stared at the glowing screens, his face grim. Enough guessing. I want the truth. Why can these humans breathe poison, walk through storms, and heal from wounds that would kill us? I want answers. The young scientist had been waiting for these words. He stepped forward, carrying a data tablet filled with endless readings. Captain, he said, his voice steady, I believe we have underestimated this species. What we call poison, they call air. What burns us, strengthens them. He tapped the tablet and images appeared on the walls, charts of human lungs, scans of their blood, recordings of their strange resilience. The crew leaned in, their eyes wide. Look here, the scientist explained. Their lungs are not like ours. They have sacs and branches that pull in huge amounts of oxygen. For most species, high oxygen levels cause damage, even death. But for humans, it fuels them. Their cells drink it, thrive on it, the crew murmured in disbelief. And here, he zoomed in on a red drop of human blood. See their iron-rich cells? This allows them to carry oxygen faster and longer. Their bodies are made for endurance. We run out of breath in minutes. They run for hours. The captain's eyes narrowed. And the toxins? The bacteria? They should be dead in days. The scientist's voice grew darker. That is the most terrifying part. Their immune system is a weapon. Billions of invisible soldiers fight inside their blood every second. They are born into sickness, dirt, infection, and their bodies learn, adapt, and grow stronger. What kills us makes them tougher. The older officer scoffed weakly, though even he could not hide his unease. But they die young. Their lives are short. That proves their weakness. The scientist turned sharply, his glowing eyes burning. No, it proves their strength. Because even with short lives, even with fragile bodies, they fight harder, burn brighter, and rise again after every fall. Do you not see? They are shaped by fire and chaos. Every day on this planet is training. Every breath is a battle. And still, they laugh. Silence filled the chamber. No one dared to argue now. The captain clenched his hands behind his back. He looked again at the screens where villagers were already repairing their homes, singing as they worked. Children carried small buckets of water, smiling proudly as if they had conquered the storm themselves. They are smiling, the captain whispered. After fire, after poison, after chaos, they smile. The scientist nodded. Yes, that is what makes them unstoppable. Pain does not break them, it teaches them. Struggle does not crush them, it builds them. One officer shivered. We thought they were prey, but maybe they are predators, silent predators who do not even know what they are. The captain's mind turned. He imagined the galaxy laughing at humans, mocking them as harmless. He imagined what would happen if humans ever discovered their true potential. What if they carried their resilience, their fire, their unstoppable will beyond Earth? A chill ran through him. That evening, the crew continued to study humans closely. They scanned their bodies when they slept, watched them heal from cuts and bruises, saw their muscles grow stronger from labor instead of collapsing from exhaustion. Every new fact was another nail in the coffin of their arrogance. Finally, the scientist gave his last report. His voice was soft, but each word carried weight. "Captain, I have run every test. The conclusion is clear. Earth is not just a home, it is a forge, a place of storms, fire, poison, and disease. Any other species would die here within days. But humans? Humans are born in this forge. They are sharpened by it. They are hardened by it. They are made into weapons by it." The captain turned away from the screens, his heart heavy. "We called them harmless. But now I see the truth. Harmless creatures do not walk through fire. Harmless creatures do not breathe poison and smile. No, these humans are something else entirely." The scientist's last words echoed in the chamber. "They are survivors. And survivors are the most dangerous beings in the galaxy." Outside in the village below, humans gathered together around a fire, telling stories, laughing with one another. They had no idea that above them, a crew of aliens sat in fearful silence, realizing that the greatest threat in the universe was not some monstrous beast, but the smiling, fragile-looking creatures who called themselves human. The days after the storm felt different inside the alien ship. The crew no longer laughed at humans. They no longer called them fragile or weak. Instead, they watched in silence, their glowing eyes filled with unease. Every smile, every laugh, every act of endurance from the villagers below reminded them of something they did not want to admit. Humans were not harmless. The captain held a private meeting in the council chamber. The room glowed dimly, screens filled with images of human life. Farmers carried heavy sacks across muddy fields. Children climbed trees, scraping their knees but laughing as they fell. Soldiers trained, running until their bodies dripped with sweat, yet never stopping. The captain's voice was heavy. "We came to study them, to decide whether this species could be ignored or conquered. But now I am not sure of either." The older officer grunted. "We still have weapons. We still have ships. What can they do against our power?" The young scientist turned sharply, his voice calm but cutting. "Weapons mean little against creatures who refuse to break. Conquer them, how? Kill one and 10 more rise. Burn their homes and they build again. Poison them and they grow stronger. You cannot destroy those who use suffering as fuel." The officer growled but did not reply. Deep inside, even he knew the truth of those words. The captain looked at his crew. "So what are they then? Prey or predator?" The scientist's glowing eyes flicked toward the screen, where humans were sharing food by a fire, passing bread, laughing together. "Neither," he said. "They are survivors, something far more dangerous than prey, and far more unpredictable than predators. Survivors cannot be controlled. They can only be respected or feared." A long silence followed. Later, the aliens watched as humans carried out rituals that made no sense to them. Men and women gathered in the cold night, telling stories by the fire. They sang songs, clapped their hands, and even in hunger they shared their last pieces of food with the weakest among them. One officer whispered, "Why do they waste their strength on others? Why do they protect the weak?" The scientist's answer was immediate. "Because unity makes them stronger. Alone they are fragile, together they are unstoppable." The captain felt a strange chill at those words. He imagined what might happen if humans left their world. If they carried this unity, this fire, out into the stars, would any empire stand against them? That night the captain dreamed of a galaxy burning, not by alien warships, but by human hands, human will, human endurance that no weapon could erase. By morning, the crew was restless. Fear had rooted deep inside them. Some whispered of retreat, leave Earth, forget what they had seen. Others argued for destruction. Better to end humans now before they learned how strong they truly were. The captain listened, his face unreadable. Finally, he raised his hand. "We cannot retreat," he said. "If we flee, it means we fear them already. And if we attack—" His voice grew darker. "If we attack and fail, then we unleash something the galaxy is not ready for." The chamber grew cold. The truth hung heavy in the air. The scientist spoke quietly. "Perhaps conquest is not the answer. Perhaps alliance is," several officers gasped. "Alliance? With these primitives?" The scientist did not flinch. "Call them primitive if you wish, but remember this. Primitive life should not breathe poison and call it fresh air. Primitive life should not fight fire with bare hands. Primitive life should not dance in storms that break our strongest soldiers. They are not primitive. They are forged. The captain's gaze returned to the window. Outside, a group of children ran barefoot through the mud, chasing each other, shouting with joy. Their laughter rose into the morning sky, carried on the very air that poisoned alien lungs. He whispered, almost to himself, "They smile in the face of death. What will they do when they learn the truth about us?" The crew shifted nervously. None had an answer. That evening, the captain made his decision. "We will not conquer," he said. "Not yet. The risk is too great. For now, we will watch, we will learn, and we will not underestimate them again." The older officer slammed his fist on the table. "And when they grow stronger? When they leave this world?" The captain's glowing eyes turned toward him, colder than ever. "Then the galaxy will tremble, and we must decide if we stand with them or against them." The crew fell silent. Each alien felt the same weight pressing on their hearts. For the first time, they realized the truth. The future of the galaxy might not belong to their kind. It might belong to the humans. Outside, the villagers finished their meal, sang another song, and laughed under the stars. They had no idea that above them, hidden in the night sky, a crew of aliens sat in fear, debating not how to conquer them, but how to survive in a galaxy that might one day belong to humanity. The alien ship floated silently in orbit once more, hidden above the Earth. Days had passed since the storm, yet the crew had not recovered from what they had seen. Their pride was broken, their certainty shattered. No one dared to laugh at humans now. In the council chamber, the captain stood at the center, his silver skin reflecting the glow of the screens. Around him, the crew sat in tense silence. On the walls, images of humans filled the space. Farmers working under the blazing sun, children playing in dirt, soldiers training, families laughing together by firelight. The captain's voice was low but firm. "We came here to observe. We believed humans were fragile, harmless, weak. But what we have seen proves the opposite. This species is dangerous, not because of their weapons, not because of their strength, but because of something deeper." The young scientist stepped forward, his eyes glowing with quiet certainty. "Because they endure," the captain nodded. "Yes, they endure. Fire, storms, poison, disease. Earth itself is a world that tries to kill them every day. Yet instead of dying, they adapt. Instead of breaking, they grow stronger." The older officer tried one last time to deny it. "But they are still mortal. They bleed, they fall, they die." The scientist's voice was sharp. "And then they stand again. Do you not see? They are not afraid of death. They live knowing their lives are short. Yet they live fully, they fight fiercely, and they love deeply. That is what makes them unstoppable." Silence filled the chamber. Every alien could feel the weight of the truth pressing on them. The captain turned back to the screens. He watched as humans carried out their daily tasks, smiling despite hunger, laughing despite hardship, caring for one another in ways the aliens could not understand. "We thought their kindness was weakness," he said slowly. "But perhaps kindness is their greatest weapon. A creature that survives pain is dangerous, but a creature that survives pain and still shows compassion." He trailed off, his words heavy. "That is terrifying." The crew shifted uncomfortably. The galaxy had no idea. Entire empires mocked humanity as soft, harmless, unworthy of attention. But the aliens in this ship knew the truth now. And that truth would echo forever. Later that night, the crew observed a scene that sealed their fear. A child in the village fell and broke his arm. He cried at first, but the villagers gathered around him. His mother held him close, whispering comfort. His father carried him with steady arms. The next day, the boy's arm was bandaged, and he was already running again with his friends, laughing as if nothing had happened. The aliens stared in silence. To them, such an injury would mean weakness, weeks of recovery, or even death. To humans, it was a lesson, a memory, a small scar in a life filled with scars. The scientist whispered, "This is why they are dangerous. They do not fear pain. They learn from it. They wear it like armor." The captain finally spoke the words no alien had ever dared before. "Humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy." His crew stared at him, their glowing eyes wide. "Do you not see?" He continued, "Earth itself is a training ground. Every storm, every disease, every fire is a test. And humanity passes those tests again and again. This world has shaped them into survivors the galaxy cannot match. The older officer swallowed hard. Then what do we do, Captain? Warn the others? Destroy them before they rise? The captain shook his head slowly. No, to attack them would be madness. We might kill a few, but we would awaken all. And once awakened, they would spread, and nothing would stop them. The chamber was silent. Every alien imagining the same thing. Humans leaving Earth one day, stepping into the stars with their laughter, their endurance, their unbreakable will, a species that smiled in the face of death, carrying their strange mix of kindness and ferocity into the galaxy. The captain turned to his crew, his voice sharp. From this moment, we will never call them weak again. We will never call them harmless. We will never forget what we have seen. He stepped closer to the window, looking down at Earth glowing blue and green beneath the stars. This planet is not a prison. It is a forge. And its children are weapons. One day they will rise. And when they do, his words fell to a whisper. The galaxy will tremble. The crew bowed their heads, the truth too heavy to fight anymore. Below, the humans sang another song by their fire, their voices rising into the night sky, unaware of the fear they had placed into alien hearts. They were simple people, living simple lives, never knowing that their greatest power was not their muscles, not their tools, not their weapons, but their spirit. The truth was clear now. Humanity was never harmless. Humanity was the storm the galaxy did not see coming.